This meeting to order of the Roseville Joint Union High School District Board of Trustees for October 28th, 2021. Barbara, will you take the roll, please?
Yes, Pete Constant. Heidi Hall. Here. Julie Hirota. Here. Scott Huber is absent this evening. Andrew Tagg.
Here. 4 of the 5 board members are present. We have a quorum. Pledge of Allegiance. Our student board rep today is Brandon Dolan from Granite Bay High School. Welcome, Brandon. Will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Thank you, Brandon. Item 3.2 is a report of action from closed session. Item 2.1, we had a readmission of a student in closed session on a motion of Board Member Hirota and a second by Board Member Constant. The Board of Education voted to approve readmitting a student to the Roseville Joint Union High School District by a vote of 5-0. Trustee Huber joined us via a phone call. Closed session item 2.2 was a stipulated expulsion in closed session on the motion of Board Member Huber, seconded by Board Member Constant. The Board of Education voted to approve a stipulated expulsion order, vote of 5-0. Closed session item 2.3 was withdrawn. Closed session item 2.4 was information only. A reminder of the meeting protocols. There is an opportunity to speak to the Board of Trustees on items not on the agenda during public comment item 3.5, and an opportunity to speak on items on the agenda when that item comes up for consideration. Please complete the comment card form located on the table in the back if you wish to speak. If 1 to 9 members of the public wish to comment on agenda or non-agenda items, the time will be 3 minutes per person. If there are 10 or more comment cards, the time will be 90 seconds. This meeting is being audio and video recorded. 3.4 communications. Superintendent Becker, any communications?
No communications this evening.
Okay, and then item 3.5, again, public comment on items not on the agenda. We have more than 10, so we'll do 90 seconds on our board and get started here. And we'll start with first public member, Aldo Panesci.
Good evening, Chair Tagg and members of the board. I will do this in 90 seconds. Okay, so I'm with a group of people that we do some scholarships for the Roseville Joint Union High School District, have for a long time. First one I'm going to talk about is the Bill Santucci Memorial Scholarship. Just had our golf tournament, so we're going to be able to fund probably again $20,000 to $25,000, $1,000 scholarships again this year for students from any one of the high schools, graduating seniors. And that will be coming out probably in early 2022 with the requirements for that. So that's the Bill Santucci. That's been going on for many years. This is the 18th year of the Bill Santucci. Bill Santucci was a supervisor and mayor in Roseville, passed away a few years ago. We kept the fund going. And in those 18 years, through the fund that Bill Santucci started, we've been able to give to the Roseville High School District over $370,000 for scholarships. So we're going to keep doing that. Next one is, let's see, the Sylvia Bassana Scholarship, a longtime iconic leader in Roseville and Placer County, vice principal at Roseville High. We're going to make sure that that is continuing to be funded. That's been going on for quite a while, so we'll make sure that the Sylvia Bassana is funded. We just started a couple of new scholarships. One is for a gentleman named Ed Lubinsky, who recently passed away. He graduated with me at Roseville High School. He was a longtime teacher and coach. He was a coach in the Modesto area. He graduated from Roseville High School and loved Roseville High School. So when he passed away, we raised some funds. So we're going to start the Ed Lubinsky Memorial Scholarship this next year, for a couple of students at Roseville High School, maybe more, that are either in athletics or would like to be PE teachers. And then last thing is, my family, we want to start a couple of scholarships in honor of one of your teachers. She's a special needs teacher at Roseville High. She taught, my son has autism. She taught him. Her name is Nellie Trejo. She is incredible, and you are so lucky to have her. So my wife and I were going to start a couple of scholarships in Miss Nellie's name, one at Roseville, because that's where I went, and one at Oakmont, because that's where my wife went. So we're keeping peace in the family by having a scholarship at each high school. So I think that's it, because I don't want to take up too much time, but thank you very much. And we'll keep you updated as that happens.
Yeah. Oh, Aldo, I just want to thank you for all your hard work on the Bill Santucci Memorial Golf Tournament over the years and all that you do in the community to raise scholarship funds for the district students. It's greatly appreciated, and thank you so much for that work. Appreciate it. Okay, I'll call the speaker, and then the second speaker we'll start with Larry Tajiri, followed by Maggie Wiley, and it'll be 90 seconds on the clock.
Okay, Larry Tajiri. I'm actually a volunteer with Children's Health Defense. My kids are in the Rockland district, but I wanted to come here as a concerned parent. I'm here to address COVID. You probably heard a lot of statistics about how just, with the kids, it's the odds of them dying from COVID is almost basically near zero. But one of the things I just want to mention is that literally today, my wife got a text of a photo that she got sent to her. It's a photo of ads that are on buses in LA, and it's basically saying that kids get blood clots also. Basically, they're getting us ready, basically, that kids get blood clots. We are now pre-COVID, we are the most vaccinated country in the world. 54% of Americans now have autoimmune disorders. And basically, I've never heard, a lot of like food allergies, autoimmune disorders.
Larry, your time's up.
What's that?
I'm sorry. Did you put 90 seconds? Sorry. Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So
Go ahead. Sorry, Larry.
I mean, I've never heard of a kid that has had blood clots. So in my 56 years. Anyway, so I want to go through some quick numbers with just COVID. I know you can't really see it, but here's the case rates. Here's Israel way up here, United States way up here. I'm sorry, this is vaccination rates. So we're at about 60%. Israel is like at 70+%. India is at less than 20%. This is the booster shots. Israel is like leading the world in booster shots. They're like 40+%. US is way down here. But if you look at the case rate with Israel is way higher than like everybody else's. And it kind of mirrors basically the booster shot. And they're the ones that are providing truthful information that the vaccinated, approximately 90 to 95% are the ones who are getting the cases. If you look at here, India is almost zero case rate right now for COVID. These are the deaths. I don't have much time left, so I'm going to focus on this. So India's death rate is almost zero. Remember, and if you go back to June, when the media was saying that all these people were dying in India, they were 50% higher than the U.S. Now the U.S. is actually 20 times higher, and so how is that possible? They are using ivermectin as early treatment.
Thank you, Larry.
Okay.
All right, Maggie Wiley. And then Stephen Kruschek.
Name is Maggie Wiley, and I'm a former employee of the district, a current parent, and a community member. And I implore you to draft a statement to the governor stating that Roseville will not be complying with the mandate.
Hang on one second. Hang on one second, Maggie. Yep. Okay. Go ahead, Maggie. You can start.
I'd like Roseville to take a stand with the governor and not comply with the mandatory vaccinations for staff as well as for students. One of the things that I teach is American government, and I'm having a difficult time right now teaching the preamble of the Constitution when it talks about ensuring domestic tranquility, promoting for the common welfare, and securing the blessings of liberty, and wondering who we the people represent. So I implore Roseville to take a stand for its staff and also its students. Thank you.
Thank you, Maggie. Stephen Kruschek, followed by Adam Roberts.
Good evening, board. Steve Kruzik, Wood Creek High School teacher for 25 years. Last week, RJUHSD teachers were told to deliver a bullying presentation to our third period classes. The following is my take on the presentation. Number 1, hurt people hurt people. Number 2, bullies want to feel control. Number 3, bullies are insecure. Number 4, the same bully behavior has been modeled to them at some point in their life by someone else. Board, whether you realize it or not, you're getting bullied by our state government. To be clear, I am not anti-vax, rather pro-medical freedom. Here are just a few recent examples of what I've seen and heard on the news that revolve around experimental drug vax mandates at Wood Creek High School and surrounding community around the past 3 months. Number 1, expedited FDA approval for administering experimental drug vax to children between ages 5 to 11 without knowing long-term data effects. Number 2, an FDA advisor recently stated, we need to give kids vaccines to fully understand their safety, or we're never going to learn how safe the vaccine is. That's just the way it goes, really. Nice data, FDA. On a sub point, I can only speak for myself when I say I don't want my daughter, who's currently a junior this year at Wood Creek, to be a lab rat during her senior year for experimental mix and match vax Cracker Jack's box of ingredients study. Number 3, a significant increase of students who ask me to go to the wellness center on a daily basis. Number 4, an increase of student absences. Number 5, a decrease in effort due to student stress, anxiety, and apathy. Number 6, a decrease in student GPA. Number 7, even more increased divisiveness among staff. Bullying quote, character is doing the right thing. To build character, you do the right thing consistently.
Thank you,
Board,
Stephen.
do you have character?
Stephen, your
Board,
time's
please
up.
practice your own anti-bullying policy. Thank you.
Thank you. Adam Roberts and then Karen Combest.
Good evening, board. I have a son here at Wood Creek. I just wanted to present you with some data that was updated yesterday with Placer County Health Department's website. You can look it up. They've been compiling data from the beginning, January 2020 until yesterday. We've had, in that time frame, in our students age bracket 5 to 17, 4,916 positive cases of coronavirus in Placer County and 0 deaths. That's 0 deaths, 4,916 positive cases. There's no justification for this tyranny. I encourage you to stand up for what's right and deny the mandate. Do what's right. I've been saying it all along. I've seen you guys many times. I know you want to do it. Do it. Other boards have done it in California. You won't be the only ones. I have your back. We have your back. I also wanted to add to just a little bit more data. I'm running out of time. I assume most of you are in my age bracket. I'm 42. The data as of yesterday in the age bracket 35 to 49, we've seen 8,862 positive cases in our age bracket and 10 deaths. 10 out of 8,862 people have died. I would surmise that those people would have died from the common cold. We're not in a pandemic. We're not in an emergency state. We have 44 available hospital beds in Placer County and 17 available ICU beds. There's no justification for these mandates. Please stand up for what's right. I ask you, please. I bought my house here in Roseville to send my son to this school. It means everything to me. And we're on a home stretch. And this is it's all gonna go to hell if we don't do what's right. Please do what's right.
Thank you, Adam. Karen Combest and then Shameen Phillips.
Good evening. My name is Karen Combest, and I am a parent, and I have a daughter who's a junior at Oakmont High School. And there's been a lot of talk within the district about social, emotional well-being for our students, for our children. It seems to be like the #1 top priority lately. I would ask that if you are truly focused on our students' social emotional well-being, then please do not enforce the mask mandate. Let them breathe. Let them show their face. I know that that's the CDPH mandate, but that needs to change, and we need to be leaders in that respect. I'm going to give the COVID update. A few things have already been talked about, so I won't cover those since it's not on the agenda, as we've discussed multiple times. The Let Them Breathe Reopen Schools lawsuits on the 8th of November. Everybody mark your calendars. The next student parent protest walking out is on the 15th. Everyone should support that, similar to what happened on the 18th. There's some happenings right now with no mandate Mondays. Ponderosa's brave students and one single teacher who's currently on leave is leading that. The National School Board Association apologized for calling us domestic parents, but CSBA has not retracted their letter to Newsom that's asking law enforcement to deal with us domestic terrorists. We've already talked about vaccine mandates. I will just go on to say that California is the only state that has a mandate. And he made that statement on October 1st. No other states are following him.
Jameen Phillips and Susan Franklin.
Good evening. Social emotional learning, equity, diversity and inclusion, global citizens. These terms are not my terms, rather a few of the known industry terms that administrators continuously use to rebrand critical race theory. This disastrous ideology segregates, divides, and victimizes. It blames achievement gaps on skin color or socioeconomic backgrounds rather than holding students accountable to their work ethic and interests and teachers accountable for poor teaching practices. Ethnic studies, math, and global citizens are just a few examples in this district. At Granite Bay High School, these theories and those of the National Equity Project are thriving under Amber Clark. The equity team is planning for how they are going to facilitate their equity work in our school. April Moore and Jennifer Layton have continued to push highly concerning equity and diversity plans while allowing teachers free reign, teaching with no accountability or oversight. Do we really want to train our 10,000 plus students to be oppressed victims, divided because of their background, skin colors, or weaknesses? I challenge this board and district admin to get back to the basics of academics, factual history, and balanced education that has helped students of all races, backgrounds, genders, and interests succeed here for years. Foster students' knowledge, strengths, and abilities to help them achieve success. Redefine the equity policy and join other California school boards to pass a resolution to ban any CRT-like teachings. Create a better oversight policy on the introduction of curriculum and supplemental materials and hold teachers and administrators accountable to eradicate the influence of the National Equity Project and CRT or face penalties. Please clarify the board's plan to ensure our children are not indoctrinated with the radical ideology that continues to come forward in this district and offer a proper education that helps them to be functional adults in
Susan Franklin's next. Followed by Kathy Lyons.
Good evening. My name's Susan Franklin, and I'm a resident here in Roseville since 1970. Worked for Roseville City School District for 18 years. And I know there's a national school board association besides a state school board association. And I know they're pushing this on you. I know you guys have gotten money per student to wear the mask. And now they're probably going to be saying they're going to give you more money for the vax. Now you've got a road, 2 roads, and they're coming. Which one are you going to take? You've already taken one. I'm not sure if it was a unanimous vote to put kids in masks, but whoever voted yes, there is going to be some repercussions coming from this because you've harmed our kids. You've ruined their health and psychological and everything that has to do with that. And now you're maybe considering this vax. I'm not sure how you sleep at night. I'm hoping and praying that you do the right thing. Don't listen to the mainstream media. Right now, the government that's in control is doing something that's really evil. It's not for we the people. I just implore you. And if you're not sure what to do, and I've said this to the other school boards, I would ask the man upstairs for an answer.
Thank you,
Thank
Susan.
you.
Your time. Kathy Lyons, followed by Marla Franz.
I just want to read this as a reminder for all of you who work with our children. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Those among those are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from us, the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is our right, the right of the people, to abolish this government. We have the right, we have the power, not anybody other than us to mandate, to tell our kids these lies. So it is up to us to abolish this and to institute a new government. And this is what we are doing. This is why we are all here, to institute a new government. And the veil is being lifted, and we see what is going on behind the scenes. We know about it. And those who are complicit will be held accountable. And the phrase, "I was just doing as told," will not hold water. You will be held accountable.
Thank you, Kathy. Marla Franz, and then Jerry May.
Hi, I'm Marla Franz. I have a sophomore at Granite Bay. I'd like to first just express some disappointment you don't have COVID on your agenda because you're listening to all these great comments and then you're going to just say thank you and move on. And it's frustrating you can't talk about it. So maybe you can figure out how you can talk about it, right? I'd like to remind you of Resolution 2116 that you passed a little bit ago. I didn't do my research about when that was. You talked about line in the sand, local control, vaccines. You were not going to mandate that for the children. I'd like to challenge you to step up and do a resolution and stand with the other school boards that have already made those statements to our governor. There is a momentum shift where there are people and companies standing up, and you can join in that. I'd also like to do a shout out to the teachers who are being forced to test. It's already been established that vaccines do not stop transmission and do not stop you from catching COVID, and yet you are testing only the unvaccinated teachers. And I wonder if you have the statistics to know how many teachers that have tested positive in this district that were vaccinated versus unvaccinated. Maybe something to think about just to help those teachers out. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Jerry May Phillip, followed by Chris Stevens.
Good evening, board. I just wanted to come up here. I go to Granite Bay High School. I'm a member of our Granite Bay Emerald Brigade. This is our marching band. I just wanted to come up here and just say that even though COVID has been really weird this year and our season has been limited, we're still working hard, still doing all that we can even with these circumstances. We've had two shows previously already. We've run first in our division, and we're excited to see where the season can take us. We have our first regional competition this Saturday. So basically, it's just like a bunch of schools from NorCal area coming down to Sac State, and we're just gonna perform and see how we do from there. I'm really excited to see what the season can take us to. I just wanted to come up here and spread some positivity. You know, obviously everything has been really weird and funky this school year, but that's it. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you very much. Chris Stevens, followed by Joel Manfredi.
How you doing, board? My name is Chris Stevens. I have the stats if you want to know how much money you guys got. For Roseville Joint Union High, total was $11,220,617. CARES Act Federation allocation as of March 27, 2020. That was 613 from them. CARES Act state allocation was 3,766,829. COVID relief bill as of December 27, 2020, 2,121,000. This is only for Roseville Joint Union High, Placer County District. I have the Roseville City Elementary, Rockland, Western Placer, Dry Creek, Auburn Union, you name it. I got the numbers. Okay? So, one other thing, besides the mask, for the people that did get the jab, and you have loved ones, children, adults, whatever, have them get a D-dimer test. This way they can realize what they did to their body. Okay? Forget the mask. Go get a D-dimer test. Whoever got the jab, I don't care who you are, whatever side you want, this will open up your eyes and see what you did to yourself. And at that point, You will have to figure out what you're going to go and do from there on forward. Okay? What you're going to do, not what you're going to do for somebody else, cry, whatever, whatever you want to do.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay? Yeah.
Appreciate it. Joel Manfredi and then Krista Krosky.
Good evening. I'm one of those teachers that have to test every week. I feel fine right now. I have a question, I guess, for Mr. Becker, Mr. Hasty, Mr. Basham. I've heard over half the teachers or staff members that have tested positive this year for COVID have been fully vaccinated. I don't know if that's true or not, but if you could get back to me on that, that'd be great. If that's true, why are just the unvaccinated teachers the ones that have to test? Mr. Huber asked me, he told me, I don't know, a few weeks ago, he said, hey, you know, we're not your only recourse. Talk to your union, talk to the CTA. Boy, that was a huge mistake. Our CTA rep says the CTA supports the vaccine mandate. So the CTA supports bypassing the doctor-patient relationship. The CTA supports ignoring any contraindications that someone may have toward this vaccine. My CTA, I still pay dues. I'm the dumb one here. I still pay these people. They're in favor of ignoring natural immunity. They don't care what your excuse is. The CTA supports vaccine mandates. So we go to our union and we say, hey, can we discuss medical freedom with our members? Can we have a discussion about medical freedom? No, that's political in nature. 85% of our teachers are vaccinated. You're talking to the wrong crowd. If you have a problem with vaccine mandates, take it up with the CTA. So that was definitely not the message last year when nobody wanted to come back to work.
Thank you. Krista Krosky and Marianne Schofeld will be next.
Hi, everyone. My name is Krista Krosky. I'm a Roseville resident and a taxpayer. I could stand up here and give you a ton of facts about masks and vaccines and why they don't work and why mandates are wrong, but I have a feeling you guys all know that. What I just want to share is how discouraged people are getting. I personally know a ton of parents who are against these mandates, and I personally know a ton of teachers who want to speak up but are scared to, or those that are literally getting bullied and harassed by their peers, because that's what adults do. Unfortunately, these people don't see action being taken. They don't see the point in coming here to address all of you, and I don't really know what to tell them to do, but I am open to suggestions. They're either planning to pull their kids and homeschool or leave California entirely. Please do something to stop all of this. Let's make the news, just say no, and protect everyone, especially the minority, which is the unvaccinated and those that don't want to wear masks. Please take a stand against the governor and say no to all mandates for both masks and vaccines for teachers and students alike. I'm hoping and praying something good can rise from the ashes here. Thank you.
Thank you, Krista. Marianne Schofeld and then Drew Lowell.
Hola, hola. My name is Marianne and I've been at Wood Creek since 2003. I love my job and I love working with my colleagues. I'd like to thank the district for the accommodations for the spit tests. In August, I contracted COVID and I currently have natural immunity. Soon I will be requested to take a weekly spit test, but my colleagues will not. The emerging science suggests that natural immunity is as good or better than vaccinated induced immunity. I am requesting that you make these natural immunity accommodations as well. There are more than 15 studies that demonstrated the power of immunity acquired by previously having the virus. A 700,000 person study in Israel found out those who have COVID were 27 times less likely to get COVID than those who were vaccinated. A Cleveland Clinic study of healthcare workers conducted that individuals who have had COVID are unlikely to benefit from the COVID vaccination. A Washington University study found that even a mild COVID infection resulted in long-lasting immunity. We all make mistakes, but when the data proves it's wrong, we need to adapt. I'm requesting that you make accommodations for natural immunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Drew Lowell, followed by Jennifer Santry.
Good evening, board members. I think it's important that we all ask and find out with a show of hands, which one of you are all in favor of the mandated vaccinations?
Is
Okay,
it-
I guess that means they're all in opposed to that, seems. Is that correct? Are you opposed to the vaccination?
You can make your public comment. We'll listen. We're not here to go back and forth, Drew.
Okay, that's
Okay.
fair.
Is that fair?
Yeah, yeah. So everybody who's exempt is all members of Congress, the House of Representatives, all CDC, all FDA, everybody that works for Moderna, Pfizer, and all the other Johnson & Johnsons, including all members of the House of Representatives. Why on earth would we want to take a vaccination when everyone else is exempt? Illegal immigrants is another one. Millions of people, plus 8 million Chinese students that are also exempt. It's absolutely outrageous. I don't understand why we are being asked to have our children exposed to something that no one else is willing to take. It makes no sense to me. And I'm very curious to know which one of you support that. And I don't know how I'm going to find out, but it's possible. And I think everyone else is going to know when it comes time to vote you guys out.
All right. Jennifer Santry, followed by Michelle Bowen.
Hi, Jennifer Santry. I was planning on reminding the board about Resolution 2116 that you passed in August this year. The resolution states that the Roseville Joint Union High School District shall not adopt mandatory vaccinations for students or staff members against SARS-CoV-2 coronavirus. I was also planning on asking the board if it has begun any legal actions against the overreaching mandates yet. And lastly, I was going to once again plead with the board for you to stand up against the fact that over the last 18 months, the government has changed our school system from public schools to government schools. Power of local school boards and local government entities have been stripped away, and public opinion has been silenced from any decision-making while individual citizens desperately fight for their rights. But right before this meeting, I found out that thanks to one of the members of the Moms for Liberty group, we officially have an alternative when we remove our kids from the public school system. It's a school that will be opening in January called Liberty Learning, and I'm so excited about this new opportunity. But to be honest, my kids aren't. They still want to go to West Park, but they won't have a choice when the shot is mandated. But because I do everything for my children, I will make one last request on behalf of them, that the board please have courage to stand with the other schools that have declared that they're standing against the mandate and begin
Thank you,
legal
Jennifer.
process soon. Thanks.
Michelle.
Good evening. My name is Michelle. I have a student at Oakmont High School. There's nothing else I can really say. I agree with 100% with what every person has said here, including the Granite Bay band. I was happy to hear them speak. A little bit of levity. Bottom line is, I want to give you the benefit of the doubt. You said to us, you will stand behind the teachers and students. You will fight that there will not be a vaccine mandate. I am holding you to that. You said you would fight for our children. The other part is you have been a leader. I work in a Folsom, and I have parents who said they find out where I go to school or my kids go to school, and they said, you guys are leaders. Please encourage them to keep fighting. They don't have a shot in Sacramento County. And if Placer does that, you lead the way. You have the opportunity to be the leaders and the protectors. You also get a choice on what side of history you're going to fall on. This is a defining moment. They're coming after our children with an experimental medication. What side of history are you going to be on? What type of leaders? I want to give you the benefit of the doubt. You have been there. You have fought for the masks. Do we agree with everything? Absolutely not. But you have been one of the better boards that we've seen. Please follow through and protect our children.
All right, thank you. That concludes public comment for today. We'll move on to item 3.6. Do we have any committee reports?
I would just say on behalf of the policy committee, we had an opportunity to potentially have a special session to deal with 2 items, but we instead decided to send them to the board, so you'll see them under action items today.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Constant. Item 4.1 is the RSEA report. Do we have, Mr. Basham, did you say we don't have no RSEA report? Okay, item 4.2, the student board members report. We moved up, and our newest board member is Brandon Dolan from Granite Bay High School. So, welcome, Brandon, and yeah,
Great.
please.
All right.
The mic is yours.
The mic is mine. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so good evening, everyone. As you said, my name is Brandon Dolan. I have the privilege of being the student body president over at Granite Bay High School, and I also serve on the board of representatives for our school. And it's an honor to be up here with you guys, and it's an honor to speak to all of you guys as well. Today, I get a couple of minutes just to talk about a couple of things that have been going on around our school. I want to talk about an event that has been going on all week and some of our electives that we have going on at around our school as well. The first thing I want to talk about is one event that's going around our school. It's called Ripple Effect Week. Now, Ripple Effect Week is a great way to encourage a sense of culture around our campus, and I have had the privilege of being able to put that on for this week. It includes a lot of classroom discussions and a lot of videos encouraging our students to just embrace a sense of culture around our campus. Our main focus for this year is all about encouraging our students to be part of the change that they want to see around campus. No matter what it is, we just want to encourage students to really use their voice and be part of a positive change that's happening around campus. We've had a couple focuses on things to do like with spreading positivity through social media as it takes over our students' lives. We also had a day today all about being able to create an environment where students can reach out to one another. And yeah, it's just been, and so far from what I've seen, I believe it's been a great success. We've seen a lot of change already on our campus, and we are just trying to inspire students to take a Ripple Effect Week that it lasts only a week long to have a change, to create a change that's going to last longer than just a week, and be part of the change that students have always wanted to see. Another thing that I want to capitalize on is a couple electives that are going on around our campus, included, as our students said recently, about the marching band and our theater as well. So at Granite Bay High School, we give our students a lot of different opportunities to engage in their interests, in their hobbies. And 2 of those include marching band and theater, as well as many others. Personally, I was in the marching band for 2 years, and I loved it. And now I took myself and went into our student government over at that school. But our marching band, as they said, is going straight into their season. They're doing great. And I just suggest if any of you guys have an open evening on Saturdays, they have another performance at Folsom, and then I believe Sacramento State after that. I know the Sac State show will include bands from all around the state, and personally, I believe that is definitely a show not to miss. Speaking of shows, I also want to capitalize on our theater as well. Our theater, actually, it was their opening night tonight. They have a play based on the board game called Clue, and it's a murder mystery type thing. And yeah, there's just a lot of stuff going around at Granite Bay. I'm very excited to just have a normal year, somewhat of a normal year this year. Like I said, we had homecoming this year, earlier this month. And yeah, I appreciate you guys giving me this time to talk a little bit about what's going on around our campus. And yeah, that's basically everything from me. So yeah.
Nice job. Good job, Brandon. A good report. Welcome aboard, and we look forward to meeting all the student board members in the coming meetings. So thank you. Item 4.3 is the curriculum update with our educational services assistant superintendent, Dr. Moore.
Thank you, President Tagg. Jen Layton will be joining me for this presentation. We'd like to give you an update on some of the things that we're working on. We're preparing to market courses for next year. And this happens typically at this time of year where we get the list together and are building the course catalog. It typically is sent to be printed right around Thanksgiving. So we're still transitioning to the updated curriculum approval process we talked about last time, and that will be fully operational in January. But we'd like to share with you some of the courses that were already in the queue. And the goal is that we may bring these back to you November 18th for possible approval. So we have between tonight and that time to see what questions, comments, concerns there may be, that we can address them and be prepared for potential approval. The timeline again is important simply because of the course catalogs, and our schools have been asking, hey, can we include this course or not in that printing? So here are the courses that we have currently in the queue. We will be posting these along with the actual course proposal documentation by next week on the district website so that others can take a look and see the details. But let's look at them one by one. So that first bullet is CTE Commercial Music 1 and 2. This is an existing course in our district, and it's simply a name change. So when it came to you for approval, that was in November of 2012, it was called Commercial Guitar 1 and 2. But as we've been implementing, we've seen name changes and different approaches. The staff, the CTE team, as they've looked at it, realized that we're doing more than guitar. Even in its original approval, it was in the pathway of commercial music, and they realized it's more about music than simply guitar. So this is simply a name change. Nothing else about the course is changing, and we just like to get that updated. The next one, Auto 3, again, is an existing course, and that is one that we've been using Advanced Auto for, and they've been updating to include some of the industry recommendations. So we have an updated proposal for that, but the course is in play, and we'd like to get it officially updated to the new standards and approval of the outline. Elementary statistics would be new for us. It is part of our dual enrollment plan with Sierra College. And actually in July, when we approved our dual enrollment partnership, it was in there as a plan, but we realized we didn't have our own course code for it because it's a college course. So we've used the surrounding districts that already offer Sierra College's course to create and update the outline, but the outline is matching for Sierra College, and this will allow us to have a course code and put that in the schedule. And the intent of this course was and is to offer it in the springs of this year at Granite Bay High School to start, and that's how it was built into our plan. So we're bringing that forward. And again, this was all part of the plan that was built last spring with Sierra College. We just didn't have this process to bring it to you at that time. And then the fourth bullet is enhancing social emotional skills through dialectics. Existing course, it was approved, I want to say April 14th of 2020 for Adelante High School. And it's a course that specifically supports students with coping skills, dealing with conflict, and some of those strategies. And the staff at the Therapeutic Intervention Program at Wood Creek High School, separately from Adelante, they were doing research. How might we support our students? They're finding their students in the Therapeutic Intervention Program are having some of these struggles. And as they were researching it, they found some resources and approaches and realized that we already had that course in our system. When it was approved only at Adelante High School for 6 credits. And we usually do them in sets of 5 at the other schools. And so what we want to do is bring that course forward to be allowed in 5 or 6 credits. At 6, it works at Adelante, but it would be 5 at Wood Creek, and to be allowed at Wood Creek specifically for the Therapeutic Intervention Program. So again, we're already in the works, and if agreeable, we'd like to bring those forward in November. Pause there for comments or questions.
It's a quick clarifying question on the enhancing social and emotional skills. Just to be clear, that's for the Challenge High program at Wood Creek. It's not an elective for students at Wood Creek.
Yes, and Challenge High School is not an actual high school, right? It's a category, or it's a program that we call. So that's where it's a little tricky. What we wouldn't do is label the course by a group of students. So we were planning to put on the course proposal. Right now it says Adelante. We were planning to put Adelante and Wood Creek, but the intention, what we're saying is it's for the therapeutic intervention program. It's just a little tricky of how we would categorize that on the form.
So theoretically, if a student wasn't in the challenge program,
They would not be placed
they
in the
would
course.
not be able to take the course. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
it will only be offered through the credentialing and the program offered in the therapeutic intervention program.
Okay. And then I think that's my only question right now.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Now, the data science course is a little bit different. It was in the works last year. It was part of a robust conversation with the curriculum teams and others, and they even updated a pathway. However, that all went through the spring and it did not get to you. And so we'd like to spend a little bit more time, and I'm going to invite Jen Layton to share more about data science. Our request from you is twofold. So we would like to include the course in the course catalog. It's very helpful to be able to have it in there printed and marketed, and yet it's a big enough change and it's new enough that I would like it to go through the robust new process that we're updating or rebooting in January. So if that's agreeable, whether you decide tonight or in November, we'd like to include the description and the title, but I'd like the actual proposal, including the resources or instructional materials, to go through SILT in January and February. So I would anticipate the actual full proposal to come up for the vote in March of the spring, to make sure that we're doing due diligence of such a big proposal and change. I think people want to be involved in that. And so the schools are just saying, hey, could we please put it in the course catalog? So that was our wondering if that would be agreeable. So think about that as Jen shares with you where the team has been and what their thinking is around data science.
Thank you. So data science is relatively new and it's pretty exciting. So I'm going to tell you a little bit. As it says on the slides, a hands-on project-based math course that applies data for current real-world situations. So you'll see a number of bullet points there. It provides a new pathway for students to reach higher levels of math, and you do not need to go through IM3 in order to get there. So that's the really exciting part. You can take IM1, IM2, and you can go right over to data science, and then you'll see later on the chart that you can go from data science to AP stats. So in IM3, you get a lot of those calculus-based skills that you don't need for data science. So that's why you can go there after IM2. It's a new way of working in math. Students will work in spreadsheets, databases, data visualization, like charts, maps, things like that. Some examples of possible units would be a Dear Data project where students would choose a set of data to display, analyze, and they would find it themselves, or perhaps analysis of water usage correlated to the household size, or maybe size of mammal compared to lifespan and the biological implications of that. Or finally, something that sounds pretty exciting to me is use block code and actually make your own playlist from all different genres of what you would like to do. So it's an evolving field. It's a different and creative way of looking at math. We're excited about it. Here is the course sequence recommendation that the teachers came up with last spring. There's a whole lot of arrows on there. You can take the long road or you can take the short road. But all roads lead to lots of math and lots of opportunities within the math course sequence. So at that point, I just threw a bunch at you. If you have any questions, we can talk about it now.
Have two speaker cards for public comment.
I have a process question for Dr. Moore.
Okay.
So last meeting, we talked about the course curriculum process, the role of the board, the role of the administration, and adopting curriculum, adopting textbooks. We had discussion about supplemental materials. Now we are talking about the course catalog. Typically, is that something the board needs to approve?
No, great question. The course catalog is not something that you would formally approve. However, we would not typically put something in there that hasn't been approved, if that makes sense. So we wouldn't say, oh yeah, we're planning to offer this, let's add it in there. We would want it to actually be an approved course. And so that's typically how it would get in the course catalog.
So just to be clear, you're asking, sorry, a temperature taking of the board. Are we okay with this cart before the horse type of approach?
Yes. Yeah. In a perfect world, we would have brought data science to you last spring for more formal approval, and we didn't. So we don't want to rush the big picture and all of that, but it would have been ready, I think, for that, and we didn't get to that.
So I'd like to ask sort of outcomes. If the board says no to the catalog, but then approves the course, how does that impact the operations? And conversely, what if we say yes to the catalog and then we look and say no to the course? How does that impact operations?
Thank you. And those are great questions. Either way is possible. So if we say no to putting it in the catalog, it will be more difficult to recruit for students because we build our course selection sheets and all the options. So when we send it out to families, here's what we offer, they do their research. Now, again, so the idea is there's background to all of these courses. If it's in there, then they're aware of it, they ask questions, they get information, and it may end up on their course selection sheet. So then we have a pool of interested students to fill a course. If the course doesn't get approved, then the counselors work them, say, hey, this course isn't available after all, let's pick something else. And that is something that happens anyway. So let's say we didn't get enough students to offer a course, or the schedule changes, that we have protocols for that where we work with students to change or pick an alternate. If it doesn't get in the course catalog, we can still offer it, but it makes recruiting for that course that much harder. Because they didn't know about it, they didn't have it on their course request, and so it becomes this after the fact, hey, by the way, do you want to change your plan to come and do this? And we would anticipate fewer students signing up for it, and the team is pretty proud of it. We think it's a viable alternate math pathway that we just like people to know is an option, but it's not a mandate, so it still is that option.
Then one last question, because I appreciate you helping clarify all this. You know, I've had 4 kids make it through the district and 1 on their way through the district. And I've helped all of them kind of figure out their A to G and all that. I can honestly say I never even knew we had a course catalog or referred to it. So I'm a great parent, huh? From my experience, it seems like the kids have talked to their peers and talked to the older students and kind of set a path forward. But do we have a lot of access to the course catalog? I mean, operationally, do we track that? I just don't know about it.
I don't know if we track access, but they're on the website for every school. And so you typically, like she said, it gets updated. You go through with every one of the department coordinators, you get it updated by about Thanksgiving break. You take December to make sure that it's ready to go. It goes live in January. And then when the counselors are helping students register for classes, they reference the course catalog quite a bit.
So it's likely my kids use it and then just never mention it. Just talk about the classes.
I wouldn't necessarily say that, but maybe it's not their favorite read, but
It's not a bestseller, huh?
it's probably not. The counselors pay really close attention to it because they're the ones putting the kids in there, but it has been.
Thanks. Other questions before we take public comment? Student board member, would you like to ask any questions? Let's take it after we'll do it. We have 2 speakers on this item. Marla Franz.
Hi, Marla Franz, parent. Do I get 3 minutes?
3 minutes.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
So I'm winging it, so I might need more time to put my thoughts together. I can't tell you how many parents have told me who have seniors, juniors, who have said, thank goodness we're almost out of here. And it's discouraging when I have kids, a child coming in. And a big part of that is the concern over the curriculum changes and the push that some administrators, teachers seem to have in how to teach our kids a little differently than I'm used to when I grew up. And I read over the slides, and my first thought when I saw the social emotional learning through dialectics, I had to look up what dialectics was. And it was therapy. So I'm happy to hear that it sounds like it's going to stay more as a therapy. It's a therapy session. So I was a little alarmed to hear that maybe you're rolling out therapy for everyone and they'll just assign kids. But the data science, which is so applicable to these days, I'd like to remind you of the book that was in the spring where we had mathematic lessons to explore, understand, and respond to social injustice that you took out of the math department heads. But to me, that class is a conduit to guide kids how any teacher wants to, but you can manipulate data anyway. In those classes, you can show a data set and it's with a predetermined endpoint. And so I just would like to urge and just plead with you with this new robust system that you're going to analyze the curriculum, that protect our kids and try to get back to the fundamentals of really just teaching them core skills. Maybe you should have a section of how you can manipulate data in this class. As I was thinking about just all the different options that you could be offering our kids of new courses, and I was thinking, I know Oakmont has an amazing medical program for kids that want to go into nursing, and I know you can't maybe duplicate that everywhere, but you're taking this one class at Adelante and say, wow, let's move it over. How about a class to introduce, the different medical professions to other kids, accounting, throw in that personal finance to actually make it a bit more robust than an online class, or engineering classes. Anyway, please try to protect our kids so that I can be happy I have an 8th grader coming in to a 9th grader. Thank you.
Thank you, Marla. Karen Cotman.
Good evening, Karen Combest. I have a daughter at Oakmont. I think most of you probably saw the emails I've sent over the course of the past couple of days regarding these topics. And thank you, Dr. Moore, for responding. I do want to just clarify on the record and ask the question whether or not what you wrote me, Dr. Moore, when you said thus, this revised course approval for the enhancing social and emotional skills, when you said that this course approval will allow the course to be offered at additional school sites and will allow the course to be taken for 5 or 6 credits. That to me meant the entire 6 high schools. So are you saying that it would just be for Wood Creek and just for the single program which would need to have approvals? So is this inaccurate what you wrote me, or is what you said earlier inaccurate?
I mean, yes, please, if you'd like to respond.
That was not as specific as we have now become. So we don't typically write courses for individual schools. And so we had thought to just say it's a high school course because our district courses are district courses. And upon further reflection, we realized we did not have any need. We had no intention of doing it larger, so we didn't need to write the course that broadly. And so upon reflection, we've been more specific to make that clear.
Okay, so Granite Bay won't see it in their course catalog. Oakmont won't see it. Wood Creek won't see it aside from this designation of special qualifications. No one else will see it on their course catalogs, which are unique and individual to each high school. And I have spent a tremendous amount of time on these course catalogs over the course of the past 8 years my kids have been in the school.
Right, so Wood Creek would see it in theirs because we don't specify a separate catalog for a different group of students.
Okay, but the rest of the schools would not. Okay, that's different than what was communicated earlier today. So thank you for that clarification. Regarding, I think I know I have a little more time here, but for data science, I'm sure it's going to be a great class if it's done correctly. And I'm sure if it goes through the actual review process as classes should, that it will be beneficial to some students. My kid will never take it because I'm afraid stuff like that's in that book will get in there where we're analyzing data on immigrants and throwing in a political perspective on it, and left up to some supplemental materials being able to come in from teacher discretion, as we learned last time, that can happen, and then there's no recourse for that or no process to manage supplemental materials, which we're seeing not just in these classes that we're looking at, but also in classes that are existing today. So with that, I would just ask, there's clearly information that if I were a board member, I'd be asking, well, can I have the digital copies or the digital resources that are already, well scoped out for this class? I mean, there's got to be resources that you can share in the meantime to determine if you even want to put it on the course catalog, even though I think it's a backward process where we're approving something before we've actually approved something. So I would just ask that, A, you follow the process, B, you get as much information that you can before you actually say yes to getting it on the course catalog, because I think there's time to do that between now and November 30th when the requirements are due for the actual course catalog printing.
Thank you,
And then
Karen.
I just want to know what happens in, March when kids have already signed up for all these classes and then you decide that it's not the course for them.
All right, we'll bring it back to the board for comments. Anybody want to lead us off? Ms. Hirota?
Okay, thank you for preparing this. I just have comments mostly on the data science. So I wanted to take our board members through a little history. So back in 2019, when we had Superintendent Herman here, we had set some mission and vision priorities, and one of those items was reviewing math. And part of the request was to come back with a timeline, budget related to goals and success indicators and metrics on an overall plan as it pertains to math, and kind of where we want to go, what we want to do, a timeline for that, and budget related to those, and then what are our success indicators. And a lot of things happened between now and then, and that has been, I think the district has come together to figure out some things about math and try to figure out where to go with it. And so I feel like we've jumped way far ahead by presenting a data science curriculum. And so because we haven't gone through that process and a lot has happened through COVID, I think we need to step back and we need to really talk about those goals with math again. And so the next piece of that I wanted to share with you was that we talked in the last month about focusing on learning loss, and we looked at math as one of the indicators. And in the past, we've seen that students are struggling with IM1 and IM2 already. So to introduce another course that is beyond IM1 and IM2 as a substitute, I think would be rushing to new curriculum without really focusing on the IM1 and the IM2 framework. And I'm not in support of doing that until we go back and review the math goals that we had set as a district, or even look at what those goals should be and where we're going. I am not in favor of exchanging data science for IM3 yet at this point, until we can get some really good information and study on what data science is for what's happening across the US with data science, what colleges are allowing that as an acceptable alternative, how data science relates to the relationship to the SATs and the ACTs, and what colleges will find it acceptable, and how how it impacts beyond high school. And then what's the fifth one? I think maybe that's it. And then also, I think this was a really big, strong direction from Joe Bowler. And when we went back, and if I go back a few years to when we set the vision about looking at math, we said we were going to look at a lot of different types of ways of doing math and the curriculum as a whole, and really take a good deep dive on it. And it wasn't going to be a Joe Bowler direction, and data science is a Joe Bowler direction. So it might be one option, but I don't feel like we can jump into this and pre-approving it for the, what did you call it? The course guide? Course catalog, or a course introduction in November. I'm not comfortable with it at all. I feel like this is really jumping fast into data science without setting the vision for math and even reviewing the vision for math that it was since 2019, because we haven't had the opportunity to go back and do that because of COVID and because of all the changes. I mean, everybody, all of you up here are probably don't even know what I'm talking about because we haven't talked about mission and vision for with this board and this executive cabinet. So it's probably a really great thing and something that Roseville Joint Union High School District should do. But I don't feel like we have enough data on the data science to even start it going in that direction. So that's my feeling. Okay.
Constant?
Yes, first, thanks for the history, because two of us had no clue of pretty much all that you just said, so thank you. These series of meetings have been very helpful around curriculum for me to really understand where we are and where we've been and where we hope to go. That being said, I am a strong believer in data science courses. And one of the things that I have been concerned about for years is how out of step our instruction is with the real world. And in not my current profession, but my most recent profession, I spent a lot of time in the world of data science trying to fix the problems of people who didn't understand data science. That got us into a lot of trouble. So I think it's desperately needed. But I also understand the importance of figuring out where we are and where we want to go before we go. But then I'm a little conflicted because if we keep trying to sequence things, we never really get anywhere. So I'd like to see things move together because I know there's a lot of preparation and a lot of work that goes into getting the curriculum ready for prime time. And I know that we're likely to have lots of questions along the way. And I want to make sure that we can move in a way that our kids have the opportunities to get these courses as soon as practical. And then finally, I've been searching and asking a lot of questions, trying to really find out where those lines are between what's the board's role, what's the administration's role. And I feel very clear, I did it last meeting, that our role is curriculum adoption, text adoption, supplemental material adoption, digital material adoption, all that stuff that we talked about. But then I struggle when you come and ask us to make a decision on an administrative function. Sometimes you gotta be careful what you ask for. And as you guys know, we get bashed for making decisions even when they're within our purview. So I think the administration needs to do what the administration needs to do to be prepared, anticipating whatever our actions may or may not be. And I think you can read the tea leaves, so to speak, on where we are on things. But to answer the main question, what should we do about the course catalog? I think you have to deal with the operations. You have to make that decision. But you have to be prepared what you're going to do if we decide not to adopt it this year or not to adopt it at all, because that is a possibility. So that's my individual personal feedback.
My question is a perfect segue to your question, because I have the same concern about, I think we're doing it in the wrong order, but I guess my question is, where is the demand for this class coming from? Like, do we have parents and students clamoring to take data science, or where is the class coming from? And if we put it in the course catalog and then it ends up not being available, are we going to have a whole bunch of upset parents and students? And so I'm trying to get a better handle on that piece of it.
Great question. And I think this also ties to the conversation that Ms. Rhoda brought up on learning loss. IM3, we're finding, is a very challenging course for our students. And so when our counselors and our math teachers look at the various pathways, and we know that it's best when students take 3 and 4 years of math, they're seeing this would be that real world practical application course that the colleges see as a fourth year math course, right? And that's what Ms. Layton was saying. It could be third or fourth year because it's counted by the UC system, A through G, as an advanced math course. So it's seen very well when we see universities proposing resources, and that's what the team is curating. We're seeing it from Stanford, we're seeing it from UCLA, we're seeing it from a lot of the big colleges that are not only supporting the class, but they're actually preparing resources and partnering with teachers. And so we've had teachers studying this last year, spending summers in courses, just diving in, and yet we have not yet put it out to our parents. And that's where I was saying, we need to share it here first. We don't want you to be blindsided, but we would like to do information sessions and share more and build that when it's the time is right. And so I appreciate the conversation and the guidance, because we don't want to do it out of order. And yet we're seeing this from our staff and them being experts and really spending a lot of time in this, seeing this is a nice match for a population of our students that we want to keep engaged in math.
Second question is, do we have teachers that are ready and able to teach it? I mean, I think that I know personally my own son, who hates traditional math, would love a class like that. So in theory, I think it's a great idea. I just worry if we put it in the catalog and then we end up not approving it, what kind of ripple effect does that cause? And is it better to just wait and approve it, and then how long does that take? So then would that mean that we wouldn't be able to offer it until fall of 23?
Yeah, it's very possible. One of the things the teachers, district-wide math teachers, have been working on this extensively. So they're all on board, really pushing this through. Industry-wise, this is the most important class they'll have in their entire math pathway in terms of most careers. And then unless you're on the calculus track, which less than 3% of high school students are, this is actually a more beneficial class along with statistics that probably supports most college majors. And so that's the important part. It's really a pathway for more students to continue math. And like Dr. Moore said, IM3 is a class that actually becomes a gatekeeper class for a lot of kids in terms of A through G, college selection. And it doesn't fit a lot of their pathways or majors. And so that's where this class fits. And again, in terms of preparation for kids beyond high school.
Julie mentioned we've spent a lot of time on mathematics in the past. It was a focus for us, and we saw through the difficulties of getting even past IM1 for some high achieving students that struggled with IM1, IM2. I'm still seeing it today. I know two parents whose child are doing great in every other course, and they're struggling in IM1 and IM2. And I love the idea of this data science and AP stats, and what I got out of some of our study sessions is this idea of every student going down this path to get to calculus, and most of them don't even use it. I mean, or will not need it in their profession. There are, of course, students that will use it in their profession. And again, we have the college, as you mentioned, the universities, how they're going to accept the credits, how they're going to accept this, but I'm all in on, a useful math path for those students that this is where they want to go. Data science, statistics, AP stats, they're going to potentially get more out of it, remember it, and use it in there. But I also obviously want to keep the path that we have to the calculus route. Back to I think our 2 weeks ago, that discussion was great on the curriculum, how it comes in front of us. We're looking at certainly a more fine-tuned and structured curriculum review, get back into a SILT style, having the board engaged. So I think we're on the right path. But I'm not sure the consensus on where we want to go with this case, but I hear
I just
kind of
haven't,
pausing a little bit, but
well, I haven't seen the timeline, the budget related goal, the resources, the success indicators, and the metrics of the overall math plan for the district. And so in my mind, this is
putting it's putting a piece in without knowing all these other pieces that go along with a comprehensive math strategy for the district. Right? So what's the math strategy for the district? I don't believe the math strategy for the district is adding a data science class. I think that's one piece. It's a tactic
What's the strategy?
to improve our math offerings or our math success. But I don't see this as the strategy. And so I would prefer that we revisit the vision and the mission and the goals that we had set in 2019 as it applies to the overall, this is one piece of the strategy. That's what, I mean, because in my mind, that would make sense then, because you're like, well, we're going to have to dedicate resources to the strategy, and the resources will go here in data science, which may take resources away from over here. And that might be good if we knew the whole strategy, but we don't have a strategy. We have one tactic. That's the way I'm seeing it.
Yeah, I agree.
And it might be
But you wanted
it might be the most important tactic, but I don't know, I don't understand that by the way we've addressed it.
just to be clear, you wanted to bring this back in November for approval, is that right? Or not?
Yeah, we'll at least bring the other courses for approval, and this one was just trying to get a sense of.
Oh, just starting this one out,
Yeah.
okay. Okay.
But
We
I-
would have time to.
Well, and I think the way Pete had suggested that it's coming alongside, and maybe in parallel, but what is the overall strategy, right? What if, for example, what if our resources got pulled off of the learning loss in math because we're now teaching 5 sections of data science? Does that make sense? Maybe, I don't know. Right?
That's fair.
I would just say, I think John's points were very well taken, and we do have an overall mission of preparing kids for college and career readiness. And this is one of the few areas where we can do both at the same time. And I think it's important that while we don't rush and approve this next month and implement it in January, I think it's just as important we don't take too long to get it, because the longer we take, there's more kids that miss out on that opportunity to get themselves ready for those college courses. And it's been illuminating trying to help my kids with their college homework, trying to fill in the gaps of the areas they don't have because they didn't get it in the traditional IM sequence. So I don't discount anything, and I agree with everything Julie said. I just think we really should be trying to be in 2 lanes going together so that we can serve our students as quickly as practical, not as quickly as possible.
So I'm hearing to make this a priority and to do it sort of in step with one another, go down that path of continue this conversation on our vision of math, the resources, the priorities that we've started 5 years ago, along with the looking at data science. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes-ish.
Over the next.
I mean, we haven't had the vision and mission discussion with our new superintendent and new cabinet, that is a piece of what needs to still happen, right? That's coming.
And that is coming.
This is just a puzzle piece of that bigger thing there. And I think that's the direction. I think we got some guidance as to what does this look like in the bigger picture of the entire math strategy that Julie's referring to. And I think that's the part that we'll come back with and provide that information of what that looks like, where we've been, where we're headed, and then kind of dive into it at that point. So, yeah.
You probably know all this already, right? And we just don't, right? So for me, there's just the big picture is missing.
Well, you're right there. I mean, Dr. Moore and and Jennifer Layton over there, they're doing the same thing. They're diving into the history of the work and where things have gone and what hit away during COVID and what's being brought back to the surface and things like that. So, but we'll bring that back for you.
Move on to the consent. Thank you both Dr. Moore and Ms. Layton for the report. We'll move on to the consent agenda. All matters listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be enacted when one motion with a roll call vote, unless a member would like to pull an item from the consent. Also open to the public if an item on consent wishes to be discussed by the board. Motion by Mr. Constant. Second by Ms. Hirota. Barbara, will you take the roll?
Trustee Constant,
Yes.
Heidi Hall,
Yes.
Julie Hirota,
Yes.
and Andrew Tag.
Yes, motion carries 4-0. And a preferential vote by the student board member. You have a preferential vote, so I forgot to take your preferential vote. You can either say vote yes or no each time.
Yes.
All right.
It usually means you get to vote first, but it doesn't, it's not counted in the overall vote count.
Thank you. All right, item 6.1, our only action matters, a revised board policy. We're actually a request to pull one of the exhibits off, one of the board policies, 1312.3, off this.
Yeah, the wrong information was posted on there. So Mr. Hasty will be bringing it. Coming from you, Rob, is that right? He'll be bringing it back at our next meeting.
So we'll only look at the uniform complaint procedure and board bylaw 9270, conflict of interest. Board members,
I don't know if anyone has any comment, but I'm
Go
ready
ahead,
to make
being
a
the board.
motion if there's no public comment.
any public comment on this? I don't have a card.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve bylaw 9270.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Constant, second by Ms. Hirota. I think this is just, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Abstain, motion carries 4-0. Pending agenda items, any board members with pending agenda items? Okay. Next
do.
rate.
Oh, I do.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
I do.
I didn't see if anyone else had raised their hand. I have two things potentially that I want to add. One, to just circle back around to resolution 2116 and agendize it for next time to either add some language to it or perhaps creating an amendment or perhaps a second resolution. And the two main concerns at the moment I have is just teachers and students and making sure that we can retain and attract teachers moving forward. The thought of losing any staff at all to mandates is a really big worry of mine. And I feel like there just needs to be some dialogue around their concerns. And they came, a lot of people came and spoke at the last meeting. A lot of people came and spoke tonight. And I just have needed some time to process it a little bit. The other concern that I have, and this doesn't need to be part of a resolution, this is just a second item, is just a dialogue around potential off-ramps for masks and testing. So part of my concern is, I know that we're under state mandates. I get it. I acknowledge that. I just want to have a dialogue around what if the state doesn't ever provide those off-ramps? Because at this time, there's no indication that they're going to do so. And that makes me nervous. I think it makes our community nervous. right now there's a lot of medical experts and highly renowned epidemiologists that suggest that in the current metrics that California is under right now, the masks should be gone. Yet there isn't even conversation of that at the state level. And I feel like in light of the recent announcement that we're under a mental health crisis for our students, I just feel like at some time sooner rather than later, we just have an open dialogue around at what point do the consequences of following the state mandates become more than what we're willing to tolerate. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know if we could create, I don't know. I just want to agendize it. I feel like right now we are being asked to follow rules and mandates as though it is universally accepted science, and it's not. And I think we all agree, I think there's really key things that we can all agree on. And I think in the sake of, unity and bringing everyone together, we have a conversation about what is it that we can all agree on. We can all agree that it makes no scientific sense that our most vulnerable population, our high-risk elderly, can go into casinos, bars, and restaurants unmasked, yet my ninth grader hasn't seen the face of a teacher in 18 months, where our 5-year-olds have to be masked. And so I guess those are things we can agree on. And so instead of talking about what divides us, like, let's go to, like, we agree on this, and just figure out what we can do.
How would you propose to agendize that? What form would that
So
look
I
like?
guess my agenda item would be that we look at resolution 2116, and my idea is to add another whereas.
You want to amend the resolution?
Ben, we're getting way outside of the Brown Act here.
Thank
So
you, thank
we
you.
really should only be talking about agenda topics.
Yeah.
And any of that other stuff, we need to leave for an agendized discussion, because it's not fair that people can't opine and we can't opine. So I'm going to ask that we stop the discussion.
Good point.
Okay.
All right.
With that, as an agenda topic, I would like to request that we have a closed session discussion on these topics with our legal counsel.
Okay. Good idea, Pete. Okay, any other pending agenda items? Requested a closed session item with legal counsel. Yeah.
We're just making the request for the agenda, and we don't even know exactly when, but it's up to the board chair and the superintendent to agendize it based on our request.
Any other agenda items? Thank you. Okay. Next regularly scheduled meeting will be Thursday, November 18th, back here at Wood Creek High School, starting at 7 p.m. Board and staff comments. Joe? Brad? April? Heidi?
Just that all of those things have weighed heavily on me. They weigh heavily on me all the time. So I appreciate us being able to circle around and discuss them. Other than that, nothing. It was great having our student board member here tonight and being on the Zoom call with you guys on Monday. I liked doing that. You can sign me up for that every month. And hearing from the band students, so that positivity is always great.
I just wanted to make comments. today we had a great event at Maidu Community Center, not just our district, but several districts. The Roseville Police Department, the Sacramento Police Department had representatives there. I think at the end of the day, some of the FBI representatives showed up, and it was a training on behavioral threat assessments, and we had an incredible representation from every single one of our school sites, principals, assistant principals, psychologists, counselors, every single Roseville PD school resource officer was there, as well as their supervisors and their supervisor's supervisor. It was a great day where a very important topic was discussed with a national expert that was flown in from Oregon. And I just want to say it was great to see everyone there. I was excited to see how engaged every single one of our district staff was there. It's a great event.
Julie?
I got to go to a homecoming football game, and I also got to see the Wood Creek Oaks High School band do their field show and their marching band, and it just was wonderful to be able to see the band. Yay. Yay. That's all.
And I had a chance to attend a girls volleyball match at Wood Creek. It was their pink game. So they're raising money for breast cancer awareness and raise some funds, and they won over Rockland. So it was a nice day out there. Everybody looked like they're having a good time. Activities going on. So very enjoyable. Brent?
I just want to take a quick second just to thank the board for giving me the honor of being up here. And I also want to thank everyone who spoke today, all the parents in attendance. From a student standpoint, I appreciate you guys keeping a lookout for my health and everything. I appreciate your guys' concern. You guys mean a lot to me, and I know the board up here appreciates your comments as well. But yeah, I just wanted to thank you for giving me the chance to be up here and speak to you guys. It was definitely a highlight of my night, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
So Brandon, I was just curious what you think of the engineering teacher, the PLTW teacher over at Granite Bay High School. Is he a good teacher? Should other kids take his courses or anything like that?
Oh man, where do I even start? I think he's a great teacher. He's always been like a father figure to me, you know.
Awesome. So good. I'm glad you're here. Really appreciate it. Just want to thank Julie Winkle, Sheila Stein, RPD, Rob Hasty for putting on the training today that was regional-wide training, and it's been about 1.5 years in the making. It's originated from staff at Oakmont, and to finally see the training come to fruition, the logistics behind all of this was a lot of work for a lot of people. So I do appreciate the efforts of all of them, and to all of our school sites for coming back and starting this year. We are just now concluding our football all of our fall sports seasons. We have many of our teams in playoffs going on right now, but to be able to have fall sports in its traditional sense and packed stadiums and all that good stuff that goes with it, the pageantry. We had homecomings and homecoming dances. That's not the norm throughout the state this school year when I meet with colleagues around the state. So congratulations to all of our staff for that. And what's exciting now is we're now moving into our performing arts season. We've got drama shows happening, choir, dance shows. Amazing stuff is going on. Things that we missed greatly last year are all coming in full swing right now. So I'd advise anybody the opportunity to go watch any of those shows and see the amazing talent of our students. So that's it.
Excellent. And I think Brandon's setting a high mark here for student board reps with his enthusiasm and energy. Did I hear your dad's a teacher? Is he here right now? Oh, there he is. Welcome. All right. Well, with that, we'll adjourn for tonight at 8:39. Thank you.